With President Trump poised to announce a new nominee to the Supreme Court, what will Mitt Romney do? The Democrats are in a complete meltdown over the Ginsburg vacancy. Plus, it's hard to have a fair election when voter rolls are still filled with illegal registrations. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with the big story. I covered it Saturday on the live stream. I appreciate our special guest, Debbie D'Souza. If you missed that, please check it out. It was really great. I actually saw the movie Infidel on Saturday. It was awesome. Check that out. But now we're going to talk about Ginsburg, because the Ginsburg vacancy, President Trump is moving forward. He has announced that he is going to put forward a female nominee this week. And this is the big news. And we're going to look at it from two ways: on President Trump's side and the Republican side, and the Democrat meltdown that's happening right now. But let's start with President Trump, because filling these vacancies is one of the biggest jobs of the president. And it is one of the main reasons to elect a Republican as president, because of the fact that they appoint these judges up and down, not just the Supreme Court, but up and down the spectrum. It is just amazing the power and the influence that these judges have. So to get conservatives in there is reason enough to vote Republican. President Trump in particular made this a pledge in 2016. He put out lists of people. He said, I'm going to pull from these names. He has been consistent. He has followed through. He has been absolutely awesome in this role. Now we have another vacancy. It is the third position he can fill on the Supreme Court. A single president, he gets a third opportunity. It's amazing. And he said he's going to put forward a nominee. Senator Mitch McConnell said, you put forward the nominee, the Senate will take it up. We will vote on that nominee. So what's the problem? Well, we already have two Republican senators that said they're not going to vote, that you shouldn't do this before Election Day. That is Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska and Susan Collins out of Maine. They said they're not going to do it. And it's unreal, folks. These are duly elected officials. We have a Republican Senate. We have a Republican president. All of them, the terms go through January. This is their job. They should be doing it. Here's part of Collins' statement. Given the proximity of the presidential election, however, I do not believe that the Senate should vote on the nominee prior to the election. In fairness to the American people, who will either be re-electing the president or selecting a new one, the decision on a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court should be made by the president who was elected on November 3rd. Again, that's their job. They're elected now. These senators are senators now. The president is president now, and we have a vacancy. Do the job. And here's a report on Murkowski.
Today, Alaska's Lisa Murkowski became the second Republican senator to formally oppose taking up a nomination this close to the election. The president responded by tweeting no thanks to an announcement about a Murkowski appearance later this month in Alaska.
All right, folks, so that's Murkowski and Collins. As it stands right now, we have a 53-47 edge in the Senate. 53 Republicans, 47 Democrats. But Murkowski and Collins said they're not going to vote. So that brings us to 51 if we were able to get this whole process done before Election Day. 51. So that leads to the obvious question, and it was actually posed to George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America this weekend.
Are there other senators out there on the Republican side that could cross over and say, let's not do this?
So in response, who do you think was the very first name Stephanopoulos said? Who do you think? Any guesses out there on the first name he mentions? Take a look.
I think the ones to watch right now are Mitt Romney, who voted to impeach President Trump. Remember that earlier this year. Charles Grassley, who used to be the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he said earlier this summer that if he were still chairman, he would not hold a hearing, and he would advise Graham not to hold a hearing in October. Other possibilities to look at include Cory Gardner, who's up for re-election in Colorado.
Yep, Mitt Romney is on the top of the list. The famous never Trumper, the person who actually voted to convict President Trump in the bogus impeachment hearings. We knew that was all bogus, yet he still voted to convict. absolutely unreal. Now, the politics gets dicey when you're talking about Cory Gardner or Susan Collins because they're up for re-election. How is this going to play as an election issue in their particular states? Well, guess what? Lisa Murkowski, she's not up for re-election, and Mitt Romney isn't up for re-election, and he's been quiet. He hasn't said anything. He should come out and say, let's move forward because that's our job. Right upon the passing of Justice Ginsburg, a Utah political operative, he tweeted this. Breaking. A high-level Romney insider tells me Mitt Romney has committed to not confirming a Supreme Court nominee until after Inauguration Day 2021. Hashtag Mitt Revenge. Give me a break on that. So Liz Johnson, who's a communications director for Senator Romney, she got on Twitter and replied with this. Dear Twitter, and also Jim DeBakis, unless your name is Mitt Romney or you're his spokesperson, you do not speak for Mitt Romney. So a few minutes later, Liz Johnson got back on Twitter and tweeted this. So where does Mitt Romney fall in all of this? Again, we have a Republican Senate and a Republican president. That story might be false, but where's the statement from Mitt Romney that we need to do the job? We need to get this done. We have a vacancy on the Supreme Court. We know this so-called 5-4 conservative majority. That includes John Roberts, an appointee of President George W. Bush, and he's turned out to be lame on major issues. We need another conservative. This should be the focus of these Republican senators to get this done and not be wishy-washy. Romney needs to come out and make a statement and not pull his never Trump ego stuff that he did with impeachment. So next, let's look at the Democrat side. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making our push for 100,000 subscribers by Election Day. 100K by Election Day, and we can do it with your help. All right, let's look at what's going on with the Democrats, folks, because they are in a complete meltdown. And I'm talking about the Democrats, the media, the far left, Antifa, BLM. All these people are absolutely freaking out, calling for violence. They are basically calling for violence if they don't get their way. Check out this tweet. Bo Willimon, who's a left-wing playwright, this is what he put out. We're shutting this country down if Trump and McConnell try to ram through an appointment before the election. And then there's Reza Aslan, who's a CNN contributor. He's actually paid by CNN. He tweeted this. If they even try to replace RBG, we burn the entire effing thing down. Wow, that's political discourse for you. That's an intelligent comment. So the Democrats are threatening everything, every little dirty trick they can, including floating information out there that if we go through with this nomination, if we confirm another judge, then if they take control of the Senate in 2021, they're going to get rid of the filibuster and they're going to pack the court, meaning they're going to expand it from the 9 that it is now just so they can shove more liberals in there because they can't do it the fair way. And here's a report from Fox News. If he holds a vote in 2020, we pack the court in 2021. Representative Joe Kennedy, Democrat of Massachusetts, tweeted on Saturday. It's that simple. The idea of packing the court with extra justices, attempted unsuccessfully by President FDR in 1937 to force through parts of his New Deal that were ruled unconstitutional by the High Court, has bubbled away on the fringes of the party for years. Other Democrats have said that Democrats should consider court packing if the confirmation is delayed and occurs during a lame duck session after November 3rd. If Senator McConnell and the Senate GOP were to force through a nominee during the lame duck session before a new Senate and president can take office, then the incoming Senate should immediately move to expand the Supreme Court, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler wrote on Twitter. Nancy Pelosi, we haven't even gotten to her yet. She's pulling out all the stops. She even hinted, with the help of the media, that impeachment is on the table.
Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
All right, and here's why the Democrats are so mad, folks. And I want to give you this information so you can tell your friends, tell your colleagues. They are so upset because politics is not on their side. And if they can't win by politics, they scream and they yell. because in 2016, when Justice Scalia passed away, President Barack Obama put forward a nomination. Left-winger Merrick Garland, Senate under Mitch McConnell, said, no, we're not going to take it up because it's in a presidential election year. We're going to wait. So that's what happened then. Now we're saying we're going to move forward. So the Democrats are screaming, hypocrisy. How can you do this? Well, guess what? It's called precedent. It's called politics, and history is on our side. There have been 29 vacancies that have occurred during a presidential election year. 29. So let's divide them up. 19 of them happened when the president and the Senate were of the same party. Of those 19, 9 of 10 were confirmed before Election Day, 8 of 9 following Election Day in a lame duck session. All of them were acted upon in that time period. Now, the other 10 remaining out of the 29 were when the president and the Republican in the Senate were of different parties. Of those 10, only one was voted on before Election Day, and that was in the 1880s. So, what happened in 2016 is historically the same as what's been done, and what's happening now is historically the same as what's been done. The Democrats are just on the wrong side of it, so they're screaming. So next, let's talk about what is going on with voters, because we want this to be fair. We want the election to be accurate. We have all this mail-in voting, all this fraud. We see instance after instance after instance of what's happening. But here's another thing. The voter rolls themselves are packed with illegal voters, people that are not citizens. They should not have registered in the first place, and they still exist on the rolls years after the registration. And here's the story. Juan Landeros Morales admitted in court last year that he registered to vote and even cast ballots in the 2016 election, though he has never been a U.S. citizen. As the November election nears, he is still listed as an active voter in Wilson County, North Carolina. Given his past, it's not likely he will try again, but his experience does strengthen an argument of voter integrity advocates. Some local rolls haven't been cleansed of illegitimate voters, creating opportunities for fraudulent ballots to be cast. Yes, it strengthens that argument. I mean, what good is voter ID if they're comparing it, which the ID could be false, to a name that's on the rolls that shouldn't be there? One of them has to not match for this to be good. I mean, if someone comes with a fake ID and their name's not there, that should be a red flag. But if an illegal name is still on there years after registration, there's a problem. And look at this guy. He voted in 2016. His name, he's a non-citizen, should not be voting. His name was still on the rolls. And here's more. Federal prosecutors charged 17 other people with illegally voting as non-citizens in eastern North Carolina in one major sweep in 2018. All of them admitted in court that they were non-citizens and flouted the law by voting, yet 6 of those names are still listed as active voters in the state. It just doesn't seem people are taking it seriously, said Tom Spencer, an election lawyer and vice president of the Lawyers Democracy Fund. They don't want to spend the money. They know there's a problem. They know people move around. Double vote. To them, it's not a big deal. Not a big deal? I mean, look at this guy. He was still on the rolls 4 years later. Folks, this is a major deal. And this story just focuses on one part of one state. We need to clean this out. All it means is cleaning out illegal voters, going through and seeing, should these people be on the voter rolls? No voter suppression, nothing like that. It's just, should you be on there or not? Pretty simple. So next, let's talk about President Trump, because finally I can bring some good news to this show, and that is a new initiative that he announced to counter what's going on in education. We see it over and over. The left has infiltrated education. Now we have this 1619 project, which is a series of essays from the New York Times. I've talked about it a bunch. It's been blasted by historians as factually inaccurate, wrong, because the whole premise of this New York Times essay is that the founding, the real birth of America was not 1776, but 1619, when slaves first came over. So the president said enough is enough, because that curriculum is actually starting to make its way into schools. So he says, we need something different. We need something new. So he's putting together a new commission to push patriotic education. And here's the story. President Trump announced a federal 1776 commission to promote patriotic education and accused Democrat presidential candidate Joe Biden in the New York Times of warping history. Trump said Democrats in the Times' 1619 Project promote an inaccurate version of U.S. history by overemphasizing race and the legacy of slavery. I will soon sign an executive order establishing a national commission to promote patriotic education. It will be called the 1776 Commission, Trump said in a 17-minute speech at the National Archives marking the anniversary of the Constitution's signing. I just love this, folks. Teaching patriotism. Remember when we were in school, when we were young, we would do that. We were the great melting pot. We got excited for the 4th of July. We got excited of waving flags. We had red, white, and blue in the classroom. It was good to be patriotic. Now, we're supposed to walk around with frowns on our faces and just feel white guilt all the time. That's what the left wants. I love this idea. 1776 Commission, pushing patriotic education. Get that back in schools and get the 1619 Project out of there. Folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.